4 different teenagers.
4 different journeys.
Is one faithful God. And this is our testimony.
Dear past selves, we know there were days when we questioned ourselves, cried in silence, and wondered if things were ever going to get better. We carried burdens we couldn't always explain, but we kept going. We didn't have all the answers, yet we chose to take it one step at a time. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for believing, even when our faith felt small. Every challenge, every lesson, every prayer, and every disappointment shaped the people that we are today. Looking back, we can see God's hand in every season. Even when we couldn't understand what He was doing, He was preparing us, strengthening us, and reminding us that our stories weren't over. Today we don't look back with regret. We look back with gratitude. To our past selves, thank you for holding on. We are still growing, we're still learning, and we're still trusting God with what's ahead. I just want to remind you that you are beautiful, you're capable, and you are wonderful. Wow, this is our reflection, our testimony, and a reminder that God has been faithful through it all.
I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm so excited to be joining you guys as we do this wonderful reflective video. Well, in today's video, we'll be reflecting mostly on our past selves. So let's see what we have to say.
My name is Winnie, the co-host of Certified Lovers of Christ and the host of Diaries of a Struggling Teen.
My name is Sharon, your host of the Certified Lovers of Christ.
My name is Shammah, your host of The Unspoken Battles and your co-host of the Certified Lovers of Christ. My name is Shalom, the host of the She Believes podcast and the founder of the Certified Lovers of Christ.
If your younger self were listening right now, what would you tell her?
What I would tell my younger self if my younger self was listening now, I would tell her that she is capable, she is worthy, and she is the best.
I tell my younger self to stop chasing the world's validation. I tell her, if God truly understands you and stands by you, there's no need to chase the world's approval.
If my younger self was listening, I'll tell her to breathe, honestly. You're not behind, you're becoming. Stop rushing to have it all figured out in one go and stop chasing people's approval, right? You should trust God more than you compare yourself less, because honestly, the world will tell you that you're not loved, but you should choose patience and protect your peace. If my younger self was watching right now, what would I say? I'd honestly say, thank you so much for not giving up. I know you're scared, I know you feel anxious, and I know you feel confused, but this is all going to pass. I would also tell her that please stop beating yourself and please stop worrying about things that might not even be worth worrying about.
When did you first realize that God was changing you?
I first realized that God was changing me when things that I did on a regular basis felt odd. Like when I listened to certain music, like secular music or music with a lot of swear words. It became weird because it's like why am I listening to this? You know, where I'd question when I say certain things or when I indulge in certain things, and it's like, I don't want to be this person anymore. And it's realizing that, oh, God is actually working through me. Like God is changing my heart, and He changed my desires. So when I first saw that Christ was changing me is when my desires for things started changing.
I first realized God was changing me when I had an encounter at church. I remember that day I had made a very sincere prayer, an honest prayer to God. I remember surrendering my fleshly desires to Him. That day after I made that prayer, I remember right there and there in the altar, I fell down to my knees. Not because I planned to fall, no, but because the power of God took over. Right after that, I had completely lost the desire to please my flesh, and that's when I realized that God really did want to help me, and if I did sincerely speak to Him about the challenge I had, He would make a way.
When did I first realize that God was changing me? That was when I started approaching things differently. That's how I realized that God was changing me. And I think I also got into a situation, so I kind of lost faith in myself, kind of doubted myself. Then when I started approaching every situation that I was in differently, with more faith, with more courage, that's how I realized that, oh, God is actually changing me to approach things differently. I think that's what God does. God makes us lose something in order for us to realize that it was valuable.
I first realized God was changing me in the small everyday moments. They were not loud nor dramatic. Before I used to be so moody, bitter and stuff, but there were actually times where I paused, right, and chose patience. That wasn't me trying harder. That was the fruit of the Spirit showing up when I didn't have my own.
What is one thing God had to remove from your life in order for you to grow?
My habits, my desires. Like he changed me completely. Like he had to remove the desires and the habits that I had in order for him to grow me and to make me understand what he wants to do with my life. So yeah, I would say my desires and my habits.
One thing God had to remove in my life was the need to fit in, to follow trends, to follow what seemed normal. God had to take me as I was and change me and align me to his will and his purpose. So basically, he had to change my perspective of the world. He had to change my perspective of how I see different things, how I see different trends, how I see different behaviors of the world.
Crazy question. One thing God had to remove from my life was the need for people's approval. I was living in comparison, trying to fit in and making decisions based on what people liked. In that space that God was removing those stuff, right? He grew me in identity, confidence, and peace. And when doing that, I then started to realize that I surrender all my problems to God because He loves us and He died for our sins.
Because society is going to say one thing, and if I follow what the world says or what the society says about me, then I'm not going to be able to follow Christ in the way that I should.
What is something you had to unlearn in your walk with God?
A lesson that changed me the most was that obedience is better than sacrifice. I can go out there and proclaim that, I love Jesus so much, but then if I don't live for him, if my life doesn't reflect him, then what I'm saying is just is a bunch of nothings, to put it for lack of better words. Because if I proclaim that I love Jesus so much, then in everything that I do, I have to live for him. I have to obey him.
The lesson that changed me the most was that God doesn't force a relationship with either you or me. He waits for you with open arms. I figured that I don't have to have it all figured out, but when I surrender my problems to him, when I surrender my worries, when I trust him, when I put my faith in him, he guides me and leads me through every single step.
One thing I learned was that being faithful to God mattered more than being popular to people. That's when my real growth started. I should trust God in whatever I do. I should not worry about stuff that won't even matter in a few years' time.
One important lesson that I had to learn, and I think that you will learn too, was that people come and go. I had to learn that some relationships with other people are seasonal, and it's okay for the season to go. It's okay, because at the end of the day, you can't expect summer to last the whole year. Summer has to come in bits and pieces. So relationships and people come and go, and it's okay. So that's something that I had to learn. That's like the most important lesson that I had to learn, that it's okay for people to go. It's okay for people to come, and some people stay for good, some people come, some people go.
Any extra words?
And sometimes obedience is not easy. Sometimes obedience is very, very difficult. However, we have to choose to obey him. We have to choose to carry our crosses on a daily basis, regardless of how hard it is.
I always thought when I surrender my trust in him, when I surrender my life to him, everything is going to be butterflies and roses. No, absolutely wrong. I figured that God sometimes uses his trials and he uses troubles to strengthen us, to to put our trust in Him more, to have faith in Him more. In the book of Proverbs 24 verse 16 says, though the man may fall 7 times, they shall rise again. Meaning, God doesn't make me this holy person just because I have a testimony. Doesn't mean I won't have other things that I still need to work on. Doesn't mean just because I beat my fleshly desires, there aren't other things that I still need to fix. There aren't other things that needs to be strengthened. It simply means that you will fall short at some point. You will struggle at some point, but God is going to work every single part with you.
You just need to cherish the moments that you had with that person or those type of people. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you really enjoy the reflection video. Bye! Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel because you'll be getting more of these reflection videos. Thank you so much. Bye!